Joining us now live here in studio is attorney Pete Schulte, who's been following the case along with us. Pete, thanks for being with us. Let's get a lot to get into here, but the first thing I want to start off with something that just happened in the courtroom. We saw that Amber Guyger was put in handcuffs for the first time and taken away. What was that all about? Well,
it's standard. I mean, when somebody's convicted of murder, there is no other option except prison time. So when there's a finding of guilt, like the jury did this morning, the only thing for the judge to do is to revoke the bond and put her in custody during the duration of the sentencing phase, the sentencing trial that's going on now. So the last night she spent in her own bed for a while was last night.
Okay, and what happens, Pete, after the sentencing phase, and what do you expect Amber Guyger's team will do?
Well, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what the jury decides. I mean, there's a couple options. There's, you know, right now, facing a first-degree felony murder conviction, it's 5 to 99 years. If the defense is going to try to raise what's called a sudden passion defense, saying because of the terror that Amber Guyger felt and so forth, she could be sentenced to 2 to 20, which is a second-degree felony. I don't think that's likely with this jury. We'll see what the defense does. But once she's sentenced, she'll go to prison, and at that time, she'll have her appeal. And I'm very sure they've had a very good appellate lawyer as part of their team. Michael Mola has been sitting behind the defense table all week. They're expecting an appeal. If there was a conviction, they're going to do that. But unfortunately, with the recent law change that many lawyers, including myself, found out about today, there's no appeal bond for Amber Guyger. So before the law change, if she'd received 10 years or less, she could have gotten an appeal bond from the court to be out while the case was reviewed. Doesn't happen anymore.
So
no over the case.
Correct. So on a murder conviction, if you're convicted and you go to prison, you'll sit there while your case is reviewed by the appellate courts.
Right. Pete, I want to talk a little bit about the speed in which this verdict came out, because I think in total it was something like 6 hours, maybe a little less than that, between yesterday and this morning. We saw that the jury asked a couple of questions earlier today. I guess maybe the details weren't as nuanced for them as we thought maybe they were.
I think that they were confused. I mean, I think yesterday when the Castle Doctrine got added to the jury charge, that was really the first time that it really was brought up. Mistake of fact was added. I know they had talked a little bit about that in jury selection, but neither side, I know the state, while they wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on their closing argument to talk about that because they had the burden. They had the burden to disprove every one of those defenses beyond a reasonable doubt. But the defense didn't. I think the defense should have spent a whole lot more time talking about those defenses so the jury would understand. What told me today when those notes came out, where they're asking for more clarification about the definition of manslaughter, or how does the Castle Doctrine apply, the only thing the judge can do at this point is to send a note back like Judge Kemp did saying, you have all the law and evidence that you have. Go forth and deliberate. So I think within an hour, a murder conviction coming back, I think the jury went back there and go, I don't really think we know what we're doing, so let's just make the decision. Was it reasonable? Would we do this? And I guess the answer was clearly no. So those are the basis for what I think are going to be a very rigorous appeal by the Guyger defense team.
All right, Pete, thank you. You think that certainly had an effect today?
I did, and I wish that wasn't the case, but the Castle Doctrine is a very complex legal issue that most juries don't understand. So it's going to be interesting to see what the appellate courts do.
Okay. Pete, thank you for being with us. We
appreciate you guys having me. Thanks.
Thank you.